So they go to this cabin in the middle of the woods with a beautiful lake for a vacation, completely off the grid, which is something I will never do because of movies like this. It will never happen. It will never happen. Okay? It's scary out there. Hey everyone, welcome back to Candid Cinema. I'm Amanda, otherwise known as AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Today I will be reviewing the new M. Night Shyamalan film, Knock at the Cabin, and I just want to preface this by saying I am not a massive M. Night Shyamalan fan. I absolutely love The Sixth Sense. I think there's some great elements from Split and Glass and Unbreakable. Like there's some really good elements, but for some reason I haven't been excited to go watch something of his because I've had such misses with the rest of his filmography, which has been tough for me because the one thing that I can commend him for, and I think that everyone in the industry can commend him for, is that it's such original work. His work has always been unique. There's original concepts. It's different. It changes the genre a bit for thrillers because he sprinkles in different things of sci-fi and fantasy, and he's sprinkled that in to create a unique narrative and a story that people can connect with. And I think that there's a level of humanity that he presents in all of his films. And now, especially with Knock at the Cabin, I think that because it's an adaptation, it's adapted from the book by Paul Tremblay called Cabin at the End of the World, which I'm halfway through. I did watch the movie before I finished the book, but it's okay. I can still speak on certain elements that I really enjoyed from the book. But I think that because he adapted this with Steve Desmond and Michael Sherman, they took the bones of the story from Paul Tremblay and adapted it more so at a surface level where you didn't have that much depth to the characters and you didn't have that much depth for the story and the themes that were present in this film. So the film is about these two dads. God bless. There are these two dads named Daddy Eric and Daddy Andrew, played by Jonathan Groff and Ben Aldridge, who did a beautiful job. I think they were both great. Ben Aldridge, really good in this. I'll get into that after. Really good in this. So these two dads take their lovely little daughter, played by Kristen Sue, who's absolutely adorable. And this kid opens up the movie. So they go to this cabin in the middle of the woods with a beautiful lake for a vacation, completely off the grid, which is something I will never do because of movies like this. It will never happen. It will never happen. Okay? It's scary out there. It's really scary out there. So there's no cell reception. They're in the middle of nowhere, basically, and it's gorgeous, gorgeous forest. And Wen is collecting grasshoppers. So she's out there by herself in this beautiful big ass forest. Massive forest. Wen's out there and she sees someone in the distance, this big guy. So you obviously, all right, it's Dave Bautista. It is Dave Bautista. His name is Leonard in this movie. And he approaches her. So already, on top of the brilliant score, the score is absolutely fantastic and gives you the chills. It really gives you the chills. Builds that anticipation. That's why when you have a good score, you can feel it. Even if the scenes aren't that intense or, graphic, the score makes you feel like something is looming. And that's what happens at the very beginning of this. So Leonard, who's played by Dave Bautista, as I said, talks to Wen. And in that moment, you're on high alert. See this big guy can be harmless, all right? Stranger danger is the first thing that you have in your head. It was burned into our mind when we were growing up. It's stranger danger. It's the first thing that comes out of Wen's mouth. I can't talk to strangers. I can't answer your questions. So we're already nervous for the kid. And that's how you get into the atmosphere in an instant. That's what Shyamalan does. So Leonard talks to Wen, and since he's a school teacher, as we learn later on, he doesn't come off as a bad person because he knows how to talk to the child, knows how to talk to people and communicate. So he doesn't come off as intimidating. So Wen is directed to go inside, talk to, her dads and say that Leonard is going to come in and talk to them about something. So Leonard tries to play the friend card with Wen because they have shared interests. He gives her a flower. He tries to get in that way. Once Wen goes back into the cabin, she kind of explodes, says this guy said X, Y, and Z. And Leonard, with his group of friends, break into the cabin to talk to this family. It's the whole movie. It's a situational thriller. It's in this cabin. The thing that impressed me the most about this film is the freaking pacing. They wasted no time. Mind you, the book is really short, but they did not waste any time whatsoever. You have these four characters. You have Leonard, you have Sabrina, you have Redmond, and you have Adrian. They go in, they explain themselves to Eric and Andrew. So they break into this cabin, which was beautifully done. It lasted a good, like I'd say, like 2 to 3 minutes. It wasn't like quick because they boarded up the house and everything. And there's some really, really great shots. The visual language in this film is amazing. It's so well done. The cinematography, the framing from Shyamalan and what he wanted to do with certain scenes really just worked. He didn't show a lot. It's not that graphic. It's more of the thought of everything happening. So he shows a little bit, but then he'll move the camera away and you can just hear everything. It plays off of the sound design in order to create that atmosphere. And I think that's what's really awesome. But there's some wicked angles in this when it comes to certain deaths and murders and stuff like that we see. So it's really well done in that case. These four people break into the house and they have this prophecy that one family member needs to be chosen to be sacrificed in order for the apocalypse not to happen. So unfortunately, this beautiful family with 2 dads and the lovely, lovely one have to decide who's going to die and sacrifice themselves in order to save the entire world. It's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing. It's your loved one. Why would I pick billions of people over the person that I love and my child? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So that's where the human element comes into this. It's also very biblical, which is something that, necessarily would not happen unless it could. We don't know. Judgment Day and all of that, we don't know. We've had some pretty crazy things happen in the past couple of years. So it's just something that you have to have faith. And that's another thing in regards to the religious aspects of this film, is that you have Andrew and Eric, who are 2 very different characters, and you don't get much backstory from them, but I feel like the way that these characters respond to the situation show a lot about who they are. And I think it plays off in the subtleties of those conversations, especially with Andrew, who's more fiery. He's hot-headed. He'll answer back. And he's a lawyer, basically. So he knows a lot about human rights. He knows a lot about how the media will manipulate certain aspects. And that's what he taps into, versus Eric, who obviously believes in, the universe and a higher being, and believes that these natural disasters are happening because they need to decide who to kill. I like the concept that's there. But again, the pacing is something that I was just so impressed with, because it didn't lull, it didn't drag. There were sacrifices made, and then there was a natural disaster. It's a bit repetitive, that's fine. But then it's the fact that they're running out of time that holds you into this entire movie. And that's what I really enjoyed about it. And I'm sitting at a 3.5 out of 5 for Knock at the Cabin. I thought Dave Bautista was fantastic. He was a strong lead in all of this. I really loved Rupert Grint in this. And he didn't have that much screen time, but I loved what he did when he was on camera. It's a good movie. It's interesting enough. If it did drag, as I said, then I would have probably not have rated it this high. Honestly, it barely felt like an hour and 40. I thought it was like an hour and 30, an hour and 20. Obviously it's an hour and a half, regardless if you take away the credits and all of that, but it just felt short. So I really enjoyed this. It was a good time. I love the cinematography. I love the way that this was filmed. It's very unique. Again, would I have wanted a bit more depth to it? Sure. The flashbacks didn't really give that much to the characters, but I still loved that he also kept it at the surface, because there's really not much you can do in this situation. So it has to be that fast paced. The decisions have to be made really quickly because time is running out. So I think that the pacing also went in with the timing of how much time they actually had to get this done. So if you guys have a favorite M. Night Shyamalan film, please drop it in the comments below. I do want to know some of your favorites, because they could be different from mine. I think everybody loves The Sixth Sense. That's just objectively Shyamalan's best. Pretty much. But let me know in the comments below. I did give Knock at the Cabin 3.5 out of 5 stars. So if you guys enjoyed this review, please like and subscribe. You can always follow me over at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. I'll catch you guys next time. Keep watching movies.